So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Johanna and ask her to do her mini workshop, and then maybe we'll take some questions.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody again. So I know that, all of you may or may not have kids at home, but you may know somebody that has kids at home. So hopefully these tips will help you with them. And also, I think that some of these tips can be helpful for you, even if you don't have kids. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to share a little bit about myself. So I was a former teacher before this, and I taught for about seven years, and then I had my son, and then I became a stay-at-home mom because I just loved him, loved everything about being a mom. And then I was starting to get bored at home a little bit. And then Nancy was like, okay, why don't you do these site visits? And so I started doing site visits. And then I had twins. So then I had to back off and start all over again with being at home and doing nothing except for being with my kids. And then now I have I'm in this role right now, and so it is a little bit more of more work. And so I have found that I've been able to find a balance between, being at work, being, a working mom and a mom. And so I just wanted to share a couple tips that might help you get through this. This is really a crisis schooling. It's not your typical homeschool life, if you even homeschooled. So this is, let's call this crisis schooling and surviving. So how we can get through this. And so what I have found is I like to use a side-by-side schedule. And a side-by-side schedule just basically means, I set a schedule for myself, and a schedule for my son and for the twins, and even my husband. I include him in my side-by-side schedule. And what it means is basically is, what are you doing, right? And then what is your child doing that during that time? So some tips for a productive day is start by planning out your non-negotiables. So for me, exercise is a non-negotiable. I try to exercise 4 to 5 days a week, and so it just works well to do it, while I'm working. So I try to get up before the kids, and then if for whatever reason I can't, later in the day, outside time, instead of us just going outside for a leisurely walk or a bike ride or scooter ride, I'll go ahead and do my 2-mile run and get it out of the way. And then your work time. So from 1 to 3, my twins are napping during that time. So I have my son doing more independent activities, and then I'm able to do my work time. And I try the side-by-side schedule. My husband, I include him in it so that he gets breaks for work. He's working at home. So when he has a break, he can help out also around the house. So you're kind of including everybody and making sure everyone has a plan. So once you've developed your schedule, then you work with your child on a schedule for their non-negotiables. You can talk about school. There are things that are non-negotiable. There's reading, writing, math, science. And so you can let them decide what order do they want to do it in. Does it really matter if they do science first or math first? So then you have them create their schedule, and then you do it in a childlike format for them. And you can even do a schedule for yourself if you need to for that day. What is your to-do list? What are things that you need to get accomplished that day? And write it down. And so another thing I recommend is having a morning meeting with the family. So when we have breakfast in the morning, we talk about our schedule for the day. If something might be different, how is it going to be different? And we also have like a theme. So we had a theme of sharing last week. And this week we're talking about kindness. So whatever I see we kind of need to work on, that's like our word of the week. I try to find like a quote or something, but really we talk about kindness. What does it look like? What does it sound like? And then focus on that all week. And let's see. So I said to include all family members in your schedule so that they can help you out. And then at the end of each day, do a debrief with your family. So, okay, how did our day go? What are things that went well? What are things that we could have worked on? Did you show kindness? Oh, you did a great job when you showed your brothers, you know, kindness by giving them a compliment. So that's that. These are some resources that I found helpful through this time. My kids are on electronics, you know, a lot longer than I would want them to be. But, you know, once again, this is a crisis schooling. So these are some resources, you know, YouTube. There's a lot of math and reading stuff on there that's helpful. So Jack Hartman is he's like a singer, and he does math and reading songs, and we use that a lot when we're teaching letter sounds. So you want to teach your kids the proper letter sounds and the sounds that they make. So you can watch these YouTube videos with your kids like a couple of times to see what the proper sounds are. And there are also a lot of read aloud books. So during lunchtime, I usually play like a read aloud book, and it's good for kids to hear another adult reading other than your voice. So instead of just watching a nonsense show, why not listen to a book? And there are books that have won awards, so why not have them listen to those good books? So then you have Netflix, Leap Letter Frog sounds. That's another one that will work with sounds. Now on the computer, there's a program through our district. It's called iReady. If you are familiar with it, then that's great. I would definitely have your child on there because it's a free resource from the district. You can ask your teacher currently, you know, what are they doing, offering as far as free resources, and see, and hopefully these free resources will be extended through the summer. And so this is another great one. It's called Get Epic. And it's a resource and plethora of material that's educational for a child, with books and videos. So I would definitely check them out if you haven't already. So Safe Search Kids is kind of like a Google. I think my son's not old enough yet for this, but as he gets older, this is something that it's like a search engine I'd have on his computer. Normally we research things together, but you can have your child do little research projects. If they have a question, you know, this weekend we found a baby blue jay, well, a fledgling blue jay. And so I did research with him, but you know, if he was a little bit older, he could do some research on it, maybe do a project with that. So just taking their everyday life and trying to dive a little bit deeper into it is a natural, organic way of learning. But here we have a PBS Kids app. That's another great one. And then the Cosmic Kids Yoga Adventures. This is if you need, you know, some downtime, but your child needs to do some exercise in the house. That's a good like 20 minutes where they can be doing their yoga and then you are doing some work. I'd recommend doing these activities if it's their first time, like doing it with them so they know, okay, this is what it looks like to do yoga. I stay on my mat, I do my exercise, and then if you're going to do something else, you know, be sure to relay that you're going to be doing something else. And so here, this was a funny sign that was on Facebook. It says, "Mom, in a meeting from 9:30 to 11, do not enter." And then she has like answers that they may have, or that she may have for them. And it is kind of funny. And in all seriousness though, before your meeting, if you have a Zoom class or Zoom workshop or something face-to-face, 10 minutes before your meeting, you know, set your child up for success. Make sure they have all the materials that they need to keep them occupied for however long that you need. And make sure they have their snacks so they don't come to you asking for snacks or water. In our house, we do have like a pantry, like box cabinet. We have a pantry and we have a box where it's like the kids' snacks. And he goes there like if what I've provided for him is not enough. But typically we like to do a certain time of the day for snacks, so he's not eating all day, because then by the time we get to dinner, he is full. But yeah, so then also tell them give them, like, you know, an explanation of what you're doing, and have them feel like they're involved. So, you know, oh, I have a meeting and I'm going to be talking to other women business owners, and then it's funny because after the meeting he'll ask me and he'll say, how did your meeting go? And so then he feels like he's involved. So then also tell them that as soon as you're finished, you're going to go and come to them, so that they don't have to come to you and say, are you finished, Mom? Are you finished, Mom? So before it all happens, say, I'm going to come to you when we're done. And then after your meeting, be sure to check on them. You know, if you say you're going to do something, follow up through that, because if not, then the next time you go into your meeting, he may not know, or she may not know, if you're really going to come out after. And then you can also do a practice round. And even if it's like for 10 minutes, say, okay, I'm going to do my workshop. You're going to be in the room, and okay. And they don't need to know that you're not really doing a workshop, you know, at that time or your meeting, but you just go and do that. And then see what happens during that practice round. And then I would recommend hanging a sign on the doorknob itself, because I did have my son come in, even though I had my sign on my door, and I realized, oh, if I placed it on the doorknob, it would kind of like stop him from coming in. So I placed the sign on the doorknob, and I found that more helpful. So this is basically how to organize your home to set up your productive day. So now you have your schedule, and so moving forward, you need to make sure you have your little spaces for that productive day. So make sure you have a cozy reading corner for your child. You know, your child should be reading at least 20 minutes a day. Reading is fundamental. You know, we have to read to do anything. So make sure that you have like books at the appropriate level for them. Make sure that you can have magazines, books, poems, song lyrics, and it can be a comfy bean bag or a chair, but you want to set up that space so that your child wants to go there. And you can find a bunch of creative ways to make that cozy reading corner fun, but you involve your child in that so that they want to go into that space. And as far as the appropriate level, so your teacher should tell you what DRA level your child is reading on, and you can go on to Amazon and purchase books on these levels so that you know what level your child is reading on. The one good thing about the EPIC website is that it has books, organized by interest and also by level. So then you can see you can make sure your child is growing naturally as they're reading. And so for their free time, there's that big chunk of the day where my child needs to be working on his work while I'm working on my work. So we call that, free time or genius hour. It's like his time to be creative. And even for adults, we probably should have like a creative time in our day to do something else other than work and cooking and exercise. So, have a desk for your child with art supplies and the bin with knickknacks, buttons and stickers and even twigs. You'd be surprised what kind of things your child will come up with. And you can also keep it all in a box and then put that box away. And then when it's time for free time, they pull that box out with whatever project, they're currently working on. We did paint, the rocks where you do positivity notes on them. We, that morning for our exercise, we went on the walk, we found rocks, and then that afternoon and that for the rest of the week, he got to decorate the rocks, so painting them and then letting them dry. And then the next day he applied his stickers. And so, make it you can make one project last a couple days. And so the last thing is quiet time. Yes, we all need quiet time. I believe everyone does. So depending on the age, so the toddlers, they have their nap time. You set up the room quiet with The shades really dark, and they have their nap time. And so then elementary school kids, they need between 10 to 30 minutes a day, even if they're just laying down for 10 minutes and they can read a book or just lay down. So those are the options. So you can lay there quietly, or you can lay down quietly with a book. But I think even 10 minutes gives them like a recharge, gives them a rest. And so then after that, I usually have my son get up, and that's when he does the cosmic yoga, and he extends, that's how he extends his quiet time, by doing the yoga. And then for older kids, they can maybe start to practice, meditating. Like, what does that look like, sound like? And the Calm app is something that I discovered a few months ago, and it's been like amazing in our house. My twins, they have story times. They have like nighttime stories, so we put that on for them before they nap and bedtime. And then we do it for my son also. And then for me, their story time, there are stories for adults, and it really helps me go to sleep. And my goal is to incorporate more of the meditation into my day. And the Calm app has a meditation day by day, like how to do it. And so I have started that, and it's been really easy and helpful. So I do recommend checking out the Calm app. They do like a couple days for free, and then you have to start paying a monthly fee or a yearly fee. And here, finally, just do your best. Ultimately, your kids, they just want to see you happy. And so if you start your day and take a deep breath, and it's going to be a hard day, but you'll get through it, and smiling will help you. Just do that, because they want to see you happy, and enjoy them now, because there won't always be this young. And this quote that is like one of the best ones that I've found, because I work so hard, and I was like, pulling my hair, and there is no award for being the best mom. So just do the best you can do, and we all are here to support each other and be here for one another. And so just celebrate the smallest thing. So if you were able to get through a Zoom call with someone, that's a success. Without an interruption, that's a huge success. And celebrate that with your child, because the more you celebrate and praise, the more you're going to get out of that. So yes.
Thank you so much, Johanna. That was wonderful. And I actually, if you can go back and share your screen, that very first schedule, I'd like to talk about how business owners can do something similar, right? So those of us who don't have kids at home, my son is 29, but I can see how I could use this same schedule with my team, right? And I would have the shared schedule, the side-by-side schedule with me and different team members, so that I know what's going on at what time. We can match up our schedules and see that, okay, on a regular basis, we would have a call from 9 to 11, or we could have some, what I like to call just creative time, right? Where we just hop on a call and just discuss ideas and how we're doing moving forward. So even though this presentation was geared towards moms with kids, even though those of us who don't have kids, we can apply some of these same suggestions. So thank you so much. I love this.
You're welcome.
Same thing, Nancy. That's great.
Yeah.
I was also going to add, Nancy, too, for if any of you, I think a lot of people also might be caring for aging parents. And I don't always have to, but like you said, I think it's important too at this time. I love this because I'm like, I hadn't thought about me and my daughter, but then also I need to put my parents' schedule next to it in case I've got to drive them somewhere or do something. So there's a lot of different ways. I love the team idea, but I think this was, it's funny how we do things, and it's something now that I look at it, Nancy and I laugh about this all the time, how I go, oh my gosh, that's so simple. Why did I think of that? So this is why we share these things. So I love everything you shared. This was just so incredible. And I also want to comment about the creativity, because that's another one we're all very passionate about. And I actually, when my daughter, we do the creativity stuff together, because I love to paint and get messy. And so every afternoon we pause like at 3 o'clock and we do something messy and fun. And I join her in that because it's a good way to unwind. And so I love that. I did have a question. You are doing so well, but have you noticed, because I know with my little one who is overly energetic, and at her school, she's, usually there from 8 until 4. And they go outside like 3 times a day. So right now we're getting outside 1 time a day. So, it's she is so full of energy. And I even bought her, I don't know if you guys remember, Jana might not, but I had, those things that you hit and they bounce back when you were a kid.
Yes.
I got her one of those because I said, oh, we'll get some energy out. And so I didn't know if you had any other suggestions, because again,
Yes.
they're only getting out 1 time, right? Typically with us.
Well, so when I could go over a schedule like for an hour, I think. Like I was practicing this, my husband's like, you don't need to go in detail by detail for your about your schedule. But now that I'm thinking about it, there were things that I was saying that I forgot to mention this time, which is, outside time. Outside time for boys especially, we are outside like almost 3 times a day because there's a lot of energy. And at school they would only go outside once a day, and so that at our school. So it's interesting that you mentioned that 3 times. I know that an outside time doesn't have to be an hour long or 30 minutes. It can even be 10 minutes. Just getting them out, having them have some fresh air, even, doing a nature walk, rock finding something, or if you have a bike, a quick bike ride. Though it is very helpful to break up the day. And another non-negotiable that I didn't mention was not only work and exercise for me, but playtime with my kids. And so, yes, after my work, we play together. I don't have my phone unless it's an emergency. I keep it. That's our playtime. That's when we do science, because it's like crafty and there's like experiments, or we do like a family project then. And then, so yes, I do feel like these kids need to get out, and especially given the situation, the circumstance that we're in right now, they need that. I think that's one of the best things that they can do, honestly, besides reading. Get them outside.
And again, for those of us that don't have kids, this is really great advice too. How many of us have breakfast in front of our computer? Then we work for a couple of hours. Then we go grab a sandwich and we're in front of our computer. Then we work for another couple of hours, and maybe we're even having dinner in front of our computer, right? So this is really, it's really important that you move, right? And just changing your location can do wonders for increasing your creativity and sparking some new ideas and just changing the energy around which you do things. So I suggest have breakfast in your kitchen or at your dining room table if that's not where you work, right? Have lunch in your kitchen or at your dining room table. Actually take a break. There are very few times where 30 minutes is going to mean the difference between success or not success in a project or a contract, right? And those 30 minutes could actually make the difference between success or not, because you change your energy, you change the way you're looking at something. And I'm a really big proponent that you have to get up and walk around. I listened to a really great podcast the other day that had 10 things that you can do to shift the energy so that you are not anxious throughout your day. And one of the 10 things was just get up and dance, right? Put on some music and just dance. And I think everybody can do that for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, 15 minutes would be even better, right? That's playtime for adults, right? Is just get up and dance.
Okay.
And for your employees, I think it's also really, really important to remind them that they need to do that too, because we get stuck in sometimes a really bad routine and we can't see the forest for the trees because we're so stuck in doing the same thing at the same time, the same way, without infusing some energy. So again, Johanna, thank you. These were some really, really great tips. And I see in the comments that people really enjoyed it as well. So I'd like to maybe get back to the panelists. Do we have anything else to add? Are there any questions that we might have missed during the presentation?
I just want to thank Johanna as well, because that was really very inspiring, and all the energy and care and thought you put into all the tips are really excellent. And I love the fact that it can be easily transferred from one situation to another, whether you have children, whether you're running your business, whatever it is you're trying to organize, you can use it as a template or kind of a model to have the same kind of things to think about. So it's very, very useful. And as I put in the comments, I think Johanna should make her services available to organize those who need that extra push. So think about that, Ms. Johanna.
Professional scheduler, Johanna. I see this in your future. Organize us all.
Really wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Johanna, someone did ask if you had a template you used, or did you design that yourself?
Yeah, so I did design it myself, but it was just on Word. I started with my schedule, and then, well, I put all 4 boxes, you know, and columns, and then I started moving them around based on my needs first for the day, and like my son's Zoom class. And you know, as we move into summer, will we still have writing? Yes, but we'll be writing letters to family members. We'll be writing a list of things we should do, a bucket list. You know, will we still do math? Yes, but it's going to be in a different way, because this is the only way that I know how to survive. And I think, you know, having kids on technology all day is just not the best solution for us. So how can we change that and do other things differently? So yes, but I'm happy to share the template with anybody. I can set my email address here and then send it your way. And I hope it helps you and your family. And Steph, you know, you don't have someone that lives with you that helps you, but when you do have them, and on those days, you can add them to your column. Because my grandma used to come help out when the twins were newborn, and I had her on my column, and so she would also help me with like folding clothes and little things too, and with babies. So
That's awesome. I wanted to add real quickly just an idea that came to me, and you guys will laugh, but back when I was still in corporate at Walmart, we started, this was ages ago, I mean, the early 2000s, walking meetings, right? Do you remember the concept, like to get out of the office, the same thing, right? The same exact thing, get away from your computer, and we would do walking meetings. And I hadn't thought about that till you said that, Johanna, that like, Nancy and I, when we have our calls, we could go for a walk and have a nice walk together virtually and have a chat. So I think that's another thing that people could do, because as we're all used to it, right? I mean, nowadays we're used to the fact that the dog might come in the middle. Or I was even listening to something on PBS over the weekend, and they were both broadcasting from their home, and the poor announcer was like, "I'm so sorry, my husband needs something," in the middle of a broadcast, you know?
yeah.
And she's like, honey, I'm on with a broadcast, you know, but I think that this is part of the new normal, right? So the fact that we might walk and hear birds chirping might be a nice addition, because like you said, not only do the kids not need all the screen time, we're getting more screen time probably than ever as well, right? Because things that we were doing in person, you, myself, Diane, Emily, Nancy, right? We're now doing on a screen. So yeah, so I just think this is so great.
Let me go back again to your, you don't have to share it, but your last slide talked about celebrating and how important that is, especially as so many of us now are remote, right? And a lot of people are working kind of on their own compared to when they were working in teams before, where you could actually share successes. So I think that as business owners, it might be interesting to invite your team members to send out on a daily basis to the entire team what they're celebrating, right? I got the client, I was able to connect with this, I started a new project, I finished a project, I had a great idea, whatever it is, you know, share those successes, because that's what keeps us motivated, is when we celebrate on a daily basis. I mean, I have a personal practice that before I close my eyes every night, I list 10 things that I'm celebrating about that day. And sometimes I don't have 10 things and I celebrate the fact that I got through the day. That was, you know, one of the things that I'm celebrating. But we can always come up with things to celebrate. And as business owners, again, because so many of us are working remotely, some of our team members might feel alienated. You know, how is my boss going to know that I am actually working and doing this or that, and that I'm being successful at it? And I think that you know, showing gratitude to your team is going to go a long way to keeping them motivated. And by them sharing their celebrations and then you going in and showing gratitude for those celebrations and celebrating with them, I think that'll go a really long way. So thank you all for participating. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.